talk. The sound you are hearing is not a clock, it is a cage. Modern man suffers from a fatal delusion. He believes that time is a straight line. He believes that history is a march from darkness to light, from barbarism to civilization, from the mud hut to the skyscraper. He looks at his iPhone with its precise atomic clock syncing to satellites in the vacuum of space, and he believes he has escaped the laws of nature. He is wrong. Time is not an arrow. Time is a spiral. We do not move forward. We move around. And every 60 years, the wheel of history returns to the exact same coordinate in the cosmos. The names of the emperors change. The technology of the weapons changes. The specific dialect of the propaganda changes. But the energy, the frequency of the event, remains exactly the same. You are living in 2026. You are looking at the headlines: political polarization, economic fragility, the drumbeats of war in the East and the West. You think these are new problems. You think this is unprecedented. Nothing is unprecedented. You are simply watching a rerun. You are watching a play that has been performed 1,000 times, just with different actors wearing different costumes. We are currently entering the Bing Wu pillar of the Chinese sexagenary cycle, the fire horse. Historians call it an anomaly. Strategists call it a catalyst. The ancients called it the games of slaughter. Today, we are going to dismantle the illusion of linear time. We are going to look at the visual proof of the 60-year clock. We are going to travel back to 1966, 1906, and 1846 to show you exactly what is about to happen to your world. Because if you do not understand the mechanics of the clock, you will be crushed by its gears. To understand the forecast, you must understand the instrument. In the West, we measure time by the sun. In the East, they measure time by the interaction of energy. The sexagenary cycle is a matrix of 60 combinations, stem and branch, heaven and earth. The stem is the elemental force coming from the sky: wood, fire, earth, metal, water. The branch is the terrain on earth receiving that energy: rat, ox, tiger, and horse. Right now, the stem is Bing, yang fire. The branch is Wu, the horse. Yang fire is not a hearth. It is not the candle you light to pray. It is the sun. It is the explosion. It is the forest fire. The horse is the strongest fire animal in the zodiac. It represents speed, unbridled passion, and the refusal to be tamed. When you put the sun on top of the horse, you do not get warmth. You get a flashover. You get a double fire structure. In metaphysics, this is known as fire at the zenith. It is the moment when the energy of the universe reaches its absolute peak of volatility. Think of a pressure cooker. Most years are the simmering phase. The fire horse year is the moment the valve blows off. It is the moment when the heat inside the system exceeds the structural integrity of the container. Every time this pillar arrives, the world undergoes a violent purification. The structures that have become too rigid, too corrupt, or too old are incinerated. It is not a bad year. The universe does not have morals. The universe does not care about your stock portfolio or your political party. It cares about balance. It is a high voltage year. And if your wiring is old, if your society is fragile, high voltage looks like a catastrophe. Let us look at the evidence. Let us turn the clock back 3 cycles to verify the pattern. The year is 1846. The cycle of the fire horse begins. What was the defining frequency of 1846? Expansion, aggression, the violation of boundaries. In the United States, a man named James K. Polk sits in the White House. He is possessed by a spirit of manifest destiny, a polite term for the fire horse's desire to consume everything in its path. Fire spreads. That is its nature. It does not respect borders. It does not respect treaties. It eats until it hits water. In April 1846, the fire horse ignited the Mexican-American War. This was not a diplomatic skirmish. It was a war of total conquest. The young fire energy drove men to march thousands of miles into the desert. It was a fever. It redefined the map of the world. By the end of this cycle, the United States had swallowed California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona. The shape of the modern West was forged in the kiln of 1846. But consider the psychological dimension. 1846 was not just about land. It was about the projection of the ego. The firehorse demands that the self expands to fill the void. It is the ultimate I am energy. This expansion, however, came with a terrible shadow. The Wilmot Proviso was introduced in 1846, a piece of legislation that ignited the bitter debate over slavery in the new territories. The fire horse of 1846 didn't just conquer land, it lit the fuse for the Civil War that would explode 15 years later. It created the polarization that would eventually tear the nation apart. And the fire horse does not just burn nations, it burns people. In the same year, a group of pioneers, the Donner Party, set out for California. They were driven by the optimism of fire. We can make it. We can conquer nature. But the fire horse is erratic. They were trapped in the Sierra Nevada. And when the fire of hope went out, they were forced into the darkest alchemy of human existence, cannibalism. This is the shadow of the fire horse. When the ambition, fire, exceeds the resources, wood, the system turns on itself. It consumes its own flesh. Look at 2026. Do you not see the same fever? We are seeing the end of the post-war borders. Nations are expanding. The concept of sovereignty is melting. In 1846, the justification was destiny. In 2026, the justification is security. But the mechanic is the same. The fire is jumping the fire break. We see regional powers in the East and the Middle East looking at maps and deciding that the lines drawn by dead men no longer apply. The lesson of 1846 is simple. In a firehorse year, the map will change. The lines you see on your GPS are illusions. They are paper, and paper burns. Spin the wheel forward 60 years. The year is 1906. The fire horse returns, but this time it targets the container itself. San Francisco in 1906 was the new city. It was the capital of the gold rush, a city of immense wealth, rapid growth, and deep corruption. It was the tech hub of its day, the place where the future was being built. It was a city that felt invincible. It had mastered the earth. It had mastered commerce. But fire creates pressure, and when pressure builds beneath the crust of the earth, eventually the earth snaps. April 18th, 1906, 5:12 a.m. The San Andreas Fault ruptures. But it wasn't the earthquake that destroyed the city. It was the fire. For 3 days, the fire horse galloped through the streets. The water mains broke. The firefighters were helpless. The Paris of the West was reduced to ash and twisted steel. Why is this relevant to you? You don't live in San Francisco in 1906. Because San Francisco is a metaphor. It represents infrastructure. It represents the hub of commerce. It represents the Tower of Babel that humanity builds when it feels invincible. In 1906, the attack was on physical infrastructure, the water pipes, the gas lines, the brick walls. In 2026, our infrastructure is not brick. It is silicon. It is fiber. It is the grid. The prophecy of the fire horse in 1906 is the Great Interruption. We are statistically overdue for a Carrington event, a massive solar flare. The sun, yang fire, vomiting energy onto the earth. Or perhaps a cyberkinetic attack that overheats the SCADA systems of the power grid. But look deeper at the aftermath of 1906. The destruction of San Francisco triggered a massive liquidity crisis. The gold that backed the banking system was locked in superheated vaults that couldn't be opened for weeks without the contents spontaneously combusting. This liquidity freeze led directly to the Panic of 1907, a financial collapse so severe it forced the creation of the Federal Reserve. Do you see the spiral? The fire event, 1906, destroys the collateral. The destruction of collateral destroys the trust. The destruction of trust destroys the economy. In 2026, the gold in the vault is the data in the cloud. If the fire horse attacks the grid, the vaults of the modern economy lock shut. The crypto keys, the bank ledgers, the digital titles, they become inaccessible. The result is the same as 1906. The new city, the internet, catches fire. The water, liquidity, money stops flowing. The firefighters, central banks, have no pressure in their hoses because they cannot print electricity. Look at the history books. Look at the refugee camps in Golden Gate Park. This is the great equalizer. The fire horse does not care about your stock portfolio. When the city burns, everyone sleeps in a tent. The lesson of 1906 is this: do not rely on the system to save you. The system is flammable. The system is the fuel. Spin the wheel again. The most recent memory. The year is 1966. If 1846 was a war on borders, and 1906 was a war on infrastructure, 1966 was a war on culture. This is the most dangerous manifestation of the fire horse, the ideological flashover. In China, Mao Zedong unleashed the Red Guards. Note the color, red fire. He told the youth that the old world was the enemy. The four olds, old customs, old culture, old habits, old ideas. The fire horse governs the eyes and the heart. It governs passion. In 1966, this passion was weaponized. It was a mass psychosis. The youth were possessed by a spirit of absolute purification. They didn't just want to change society. They wanted to burn its history. They wanted to start from year zero. Children denounced their parents. Students beat their teachers. It was a complete inversion of the natural order. This was not a political movement. It was a religious frenzy without a god. The fire horse creates a vacuum of meaning, and the self rushes in to fill it with rage. In the West, the fire manifested differently, but the frequency was the same. The sexual revolution, the counterculture, the riots in the cities, the burning of draft cards. Time magazine published its famous cover, "Is God Dead?" It was a global rejection of authority. It was the "I am" screaming against the "you must." It was the year the baby boomers, the generation born in the aftermath of war, came of age and decided to burn the script their parents had written. Look at 2026. Do you not see the rhyme? The generation that burned the world in 1966 is now the establishment. They are the Saturnine figures holding on to power. And a new generation, the fire horse youth of today, is rising to burn them down. Do you not see the Red Guards? They may not carry the little red book, but they carry the same software. The woke versus anti-woke, the cancel culture, the toppling of statues, the rewriting of history books, the demand for ideological purity. This is the fire horse energy seeking to consume the wood of tradition. But in 2026, there's a twist. In 1966, the revolution was televised. In 2026, the revolution is algorithmic. The algorithms feed the fire. They are designed to amplify the most extreme, most emotional, most yang content. We have built a machine that automatically generates red guards. We have built a machine that monetizes the burning of social cohesion. The lesson of 1966 is this: your mind is the battlefield. In a firehorse year, rationality evaporates, emotion rules. If you cannot control your own emotional temperature, you will be conscripted into the mob. You will become a torchbearer for a cause you do not understand, burning down a house you have to live in. And now, we arrive at the present, 2026. Why is this cycle different? Why am I warning you that this is the convergence? Because this time, we have the compounding factor of the West, Saturn in Aries. Saturn is the planet of the state, of control, of limitation. Aries is the sign of war, of the self, of the fire. In 1846, the government was weak. In 1906, the government was slow. In 1966, the government was chaotic. In 2026, the government is technocratic. It is all-seeing. We are about to witness the collision of the unstoppable force, the fire horse chaos, and the immovable object, the Saturnian surveillance state. The fire horse wants to riot. Saturn wants to implement a digital ID. The fire horse wants to hyperinflate the currency. Saturn wants to implement a central bank digital currency to lock you down. The fire horse wants to burn the borders. Saturn wants to build a wall of biometrics. This is the physics of fate. Pressure equals force divided by area. The area of your freedom is shrinking. The force of the events is increasing. The result is explosion. We are looking at a year where the three fires combine. The fire of war, 1846 redux, over resources and borders. The fire of infrastructure, 1906 redux, collapsing the digital grid. And the fire of ideology, 1966 redux, creating a cultural civil war. If you carry the fire element in your chart, or simply within your spirit, this collision targets you specifically. The universe sets traps for specific frequencies. For the Aries archetype, the Initiator, the trap is motion without progress. The fire horse injects high-octane fuel into your veins, screaming at you to do something. But Saturn in your own sign has locked the brakes. You will feel a physical need to act, to start businesses, to fight battles, but every step will be through molasses. Bureaucracy will strangle you. Regulations will bind you. The trap is burnout. You will rev the engine until it explodes. The solution is potential energy. Do not act, plan, build the internal structure. Use the resistance of Saturn to compress your energy like a spring. When the weight is eventually lifted in 2028, the spring will release with terrifying power, but only if you haven't snapped it in 2026. For the Leo archetype, the sovereign, the trap is false glory. The fire horse loves a show. It loves a king. The digital world will offer you a throne. You may go viral. You may be offered a leadership position in a movement. But Saturn warns that uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. The crowds in a fire horse year are not loyal subjects. They are a lynch mob waiting for a reason. They will elevate you only to tear you down for sport. The trap is hubris, believing the applause is real. The solution is the Shadow King. Rule from behind the scenes. Do not put your face on the flag. Let the empty prophets take the stage and the arrows that come with it. Influence without attribution is the only safe power in this cycle. For the Sagittarius archetype, the seeker, the trap is dogma. You see the truth. You see the cycle repeating. You want to scream it from the rooftops. You want to save the people from the burning building. But Saturn in Aries creates an environment of censorship and deafness. The people do not want to be saved. They are intoxicated by the fire. If you try to wake a sleepwalker violently, they will attack you. The trap is martyrdom. Sacrificing yourself for a truth that no one is ready to hear. The solution is the archivist. Stop preaching. Start preserving. Write the books that will be read after the fire is out. Create the safe havens of knowledge. You are not the fireman. You are the librarian. We must speak of the new city Nostradamus warned of. Earth-shaking fire from the center of the earth will cause tremors around the new city. This is not just a metaphor for a place. It is a description of a system. The new city is the digital panopticon. The fire from the center of the earth is electricity. It is the power that runs the servers. We are moving from the era of the open web, fire, to the era of the splinternet, Saturn. The fire horse will burn down the bridges between nations. The Russian internet, the Chinese internet, the Western internet, they will disconnect. The World Wide Web is dying. Your strategy must be hybridization. If your entire life exists in the new city, your money in crypto, your memories in the cloud, your friends on Discord, you are homeless when the power goes out. You must build an outpost in the old city. Physical books, physical gold, physical tools, physical friends who live within walking distance. Saturn rewards the tangible. Fire destroys the ethereal. In 2026, if you cannot hold it in your hand, you do not own it. We must also address the somatic cost of this cycle. As above, so below. The macrocosm affects the microcosm. The planetary alignment is not just happening in the sky, it is happening in your cells. In Chinese medicine, the heart houses the Shen, spirit, and belongs to the fire element. The fire horse is an excess of heart fire. Saturn corresponds to the kidney water element, the cooling system, the reserves, the fear response. The clash between fire and Saturn is a clash between the heart and the kidneys. For the fire archetype, this manifests as the cardiac crunch. The spirit wants to soar, but the structure is rigid. This creates immense internal pressure. We foresee a rise in sudden events, stroke, heart attack, nervous breakdown, among those who do not manage their internal thermodynamics. You are running high voltage through old wiring. You feel it in the tightness of the chest, the palpitations at 3 a.m., the doom vibrating in the sternum. The prescription is literal cooling. You must engage in activities that lower the physiological temperature. Cold water immersion to shock the vagus nerve, fasting to cool the digestive fire, silence to cool the mental fire. You must avoid heat. This is not just temperature. Rage is heat. Argument is heat. Inflammation is heat. The media cycle is designed to generate heat. Every time you engage with a hot topic, you are physically damaging your vessel. You are pouring gasoline on the fire horse within you, right when Saturn is trying to seal the lid. Finally, the economics of the fire horse. What happens to value when the world burns? Fire destroys paper. It melts plastic, but it purifies gold. This is the economic metaphor for the coming cycle. Paper assets, fiat currency, contracts, unbacked promises, inflated stock valuations based on future growth. These are fuel for the fire horse. They are dry tinder. We expect a massive volatility event where the perceived value of paper assets goes up in smoke. This is the bonfire of the vanities. Saturn, however, rules the solid, the dense, real estate, commodities, precious metals, agriculture. The transfer of wealth in this cycle will be from the flash to the solid, from the speculative, fire, to the tangible, Saturn. The fire archetype usually loves speculation. You love the gamble. You love the crypto spike, the moonshot. Stop. Saturn in the first sector is a margin call on the ego and the wallet. If you are leveraged, you will be liquidated. The fire horse moves too fast for you to time the market. The volatility will be whipsaw in nature. up 20% in the morning, down 40% in the evening. Your strategy is calcination. In alchemy, calcination is the process of burning a substance until only the ash remains, the pure salt. You must look at your life and ask, what is the salt? What is the part of my wealth that cannot be burned? Invest in skills, invest in tools, invest in raw materials. These are things that survive the fire. Why are we telling you this? Why does the universe offer a briefing before the battle? Because the fire archetype is the spark of life. Without you, the world is cold, dead, and static. Saturn without fire is just a rock floating in space. It is a tomb. The world needs your fire, but it needs it in the hearth, not on the roof. We are entering a period of historical darkness. The light of the West is dimming, as Nostradamus predicted. In the dark, the torchbearer is the most important person in the village. But if the torchbearer trips and sets the village on fire, all is lost. You are the torchbearer. Your mandate is stewardship. You must steward your own energy as if it were a finite strategic reserve. Do not waste your fire on petty arguments, on internet comments, on road rage, on vanity projects. Save it for the great work. There will come a moment, perhaps in the depths of the crisis, when the new city is shaking and the two great rocks are warring, when your specific frequency will be needed. A moment for courage, a moment for decisive action, a moment to stand between the mob and the innocent, or to lead the frightened out of the burning building. If you have burned yourself out chasing the fire horse's chaotic impulses, you will be empty when that moment comes. You will be ash. But if you have submitted to the discipline of Saturn, if you have trained, waited, watched, and fortified, you will be the diamond. You will be the only thing hard enough to cut through the glass ceiling of the crisis. The cycle has turned. The spiral has tightened. The clock strikes 12. Do not be the fuel. Be the observer. When the forest burns, the seeds that are buried deep underground are the only ones that survive to see the spring. Bury your seeds. Fortify your mind. Watch the horizon. This is Prescient. We are watching. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Otherwise, we may never see each other again. See you again soon, dear viewer.